Welcome back, Geico OutKick Studios. You hear Taylor Swift's new album yet, Petros? Heard it dropped a couple days ago.
No, but I like a couple of the artists she did that album with.
Oh,
because
no,
she
this
can
is
afford it. If
Yeah.
she wants to make an indie album, she can draw from the community of independent rockers. She did an album with a couple of the guys from a band that I really like called The National. But that doesn't make her any better. She absolutely sucks.
Good start. Petros Papadakis, AM 570 LA Sports. All right. So the Dodgers.
Although she's gained some weight, and I appreciate that.
Taylor Swift did?
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Have you gained weight during the lockdown? Have you lost weight?
I kind of stayed the same.
I've lost some weight, and I think it's because I haven't been out as much.
No, it's probably because you just tweet all day.
Yeah,
you can't eat with your hands when both your hands are on Twitter fighting with a sports writer.
I was the number 2 trending in America yesterday over sports coming back. So
I noticed that.
It's amazing. I mean, I don't know what that means. I mean, I don't get too wrapped up. I mean, I understand. You know me pretty well. I tend to be fairly emotionally even. Like I don't unless my team is involved or unless I've got money on the line directly gambling. I tend to be pretty even keeled. But to me, sports, we had like, oh, that's awesome. Sports are back. Major League Baseball's back. And then, boom, come Monday morning, the Miami Marlins, who, let's be honest, were probably the number 1 most likely team to screw things up if everybody was voting, are testing positive. What's your vibe? Have you been watching the Dodgers? How do you think this return of baseball had felt up until the positive test yesterday?
Well, it feels different on the radio than it does on TV. And we work at a radio station that has the Dodgers. So that broadcast sounds like a baseball game.
Yep.
The empty stands, I think, are disturbing to our eyes, all of us. And that goes when you're watching a game in Florida when they do let fans in there. And you see in Miami and there's empty stands, and it's disturbing. Or the Oakland Coliseum. I mean, it's not a new thing, but to see it at Dodger Stadium, which is the most visited sport on earth globally year in and year out, that's odd. But I think it's been great. It was a pleasure to bring people baseball back, to have some good news for people. And I went to Catalina Island, which is a small island off the coast of California, right across from San Pedro, really, where I was born. And I spent the weekend on Catalina Island where I was a little bit detached and desolate, and I enjoyed it. And I looked at the phone yesterday morning as we were headed back across the channel, and I saw that you were trending, and it seemed...
Oh, no, it just happened to pee. It sounds like he just flatlined. Or is this me?
Oh, is he dead?
No.
Is this me or is this P? I thought maybe I was dead.
No, that's his phone.
I thought like you never know what happens when you die. I thought right then, I was like, that sounds like a flatline. He was talking about trending, and then just like, don't we call him on a landline?
He calls us from his landline, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I've never heard a landline do that. I hope he's still alive.
Might be his cell, though, if he's down in his basement.
No, usually I think he goes down in the basement and gets on the landline.
Really? He's got like one of those old school rotary phones with a long cord?
I don't think it has a rotary on it. My dad, we had a rotary phone. We didn't have the touch tone. Like, so if you remember, like, go, like, if people even remember what a rotary phone is. Matt, he was about to tell us what was trending. I wonder if Twitter got him. They were like, we're not going to allow you to share that information across the country right now. I mean, man. We'll see what happened. Was there an earthquake? You guys aren't shaking anywhere, right?
No, we're good.
Let me get the update from Eddie Garcia. The biggest winner here is Eddie because he's going to be able to leave 20 minutes earlier than he was anticipating because Petros just died. What you got for me, Eddie?
Well, it's funny. I had family in Catalina this weekend. I'll have to ask him if they saw Petros running around. He hides, though. He doesn't like being around people in general, so he was probably hiding somewhere.
Yeah, I actually want to hear. I've heard Catalina Island's pretty awesome.
We'll start with the news from Major League Baseball, where the league postponed the Marlins, Orioles, and Phillies-Yankees games yesterday due to the coronavirus outbreak with the Marlins, where 11 players and 2 coaches tested positive. The Marlins-Orioles game for today also has been postponed. Commissioner Rob Manfred, though, did an interview with the MLB Network last night. He said this is not a nightmare situation for baseball, and he's confident the season will go on as scheduled. On the field, in some games of note, we had the Mets beating the Red Sox 7-4. All 7 runs for New York came via the home run, including Pete Alonso's first of the year. Cubs jumped out to an 8-1 lead over the Reds and held on for an 8-7 win. Anthony Rizzo gets his 3rd home run in 4 games for Chicago. The Rays roll over the Braves 14-5. Tampa Bay pitchers also struck out 19 Atlanta batters. It's a new team record for a 9-inning game. Royals set a team record with 6 home runs and a 14-6 win over the Tigers. Maikel Franco hitting 2 out for KC. And in 11 innings, it was the Brewers over the Pirates 6-5. Milwaukee scored 4 in the ninth, forced extra innings, then won it on an Eric Sogard RBI double. Also wins for the Astros, A's, Blue Jays, and Padres. The White Sox and Indians were postponed due to rain. Now back to Clay Travis in the Geico OutKick the Coverage Studios.
Petros, are you still alive?
Hello?
Yeah, hey, what's up? We were afraid you might have died. It sounded like you flatlined.
Well, this happened back when your radio show first started. Remember, I had all kinds of issues with the landline.
Yes.
We would go back and forth with the cell phone, and I became very frustrated and upset all the time. It just happened again where I was in the middle of saying something brilliant, and I didn't hear the phone flatline, so I just kept talking, and you never interrupted me. So I was basically talking the whole time until, like, the voice came on saying, doo-doo-doo, you got to do this and this. Anyway, I'm back. We were talking about coming back from an island yesterday, and when I looked at my phone, you would imagine that all sports had been canceled and that we were all idiots for trying this, and my God, we're all going straight to hell. But I think this is going to be, if our kids are going to go to school anywhere in the future, if people are ever going to go back to work in a more efficient way anywhere in the future, this is going to have to be how things are handled. If people get positive tests, they're going to do contact tracing. Some things are going to get canceled. And then I think we have to push forward if we're going to try to do this. And I couldn't imagine how difficult it would be for people trying to do stuff and trying to get lives back going forward again with all the negativity that popped up yesterday because of the Miami Marlins. This is why they have a 60-man roster. This is why the Dodgers have a whole extra team working out, quarantined from the other team at USC at Beto Field. The Angels have an extra team working out in Long Beach at Blair Field in case something like this happens. So I feel like, or hope that baseball has a plan going forward, and I thought it was interesting to see everybody's reaction in the moment yesterday morning.
It is interesting that you mentioned that, by the way, just in general. The idea of trying to construct something and the number of people, it feels like, who immediately try to destroy it, right? It's as if there's so many people in the sports media who resent the fact that anything is trying to be done to bring sports back. And as soon as there's a negative story, all the negative tests at NHL or MLS or NBA don't get an attention. And even the Major League Baseball having 99.4% negative tests, as soon as some players test positive, it was unbelievable how many people were like, oh, we just got to cancel the season. Oh, that's it. At least we had baseball for 3 days. And I thought Rob Manfred did a pretty good job in his interview of trying to lay out, hey, we expected this to happen. I thought Bob Bowlesby at the Big 12 said, yeah, I mean, this is going to happen. We don't live in a fantasy world where everybody who's going to attempt to play a sport is not going to get this virus. It's kind of everywhere, and so sports are going to be a reflection of society, but it doesn't mean you can just shut everything down, right? Yet it seems like there's lots of people still out there who are basically like, hey, you can never leave your house again.
Well, it is interesting because I saw that argument arise yesterday because of all the negativity, and I was detached all weekend long. So it's interesting because we live, if you're an on-air person, you live in the media 24 hours a day, and you can't really detach yourself, and if you do, you're behind. And I looked at Twitter yesterday morning, and to me it looked like everything was canceled or headed in that direction, and that wasn't even close to being the case. And I think the answer there is, and I know that there's guys that say, we are not rooting for this virus. We don't want things to be bad. We're just telling you the truth, and we're realists, and we're skeptics and all this. It really does seem like there's a big faction of our industry that relishes in the bad news right now.
Yeah.
That wants to like roll in it like a pig in excrement. And that's not me reading into their tweets. It's obvious. And I don't understand that. I really don't. Now, there are certain things that people construct that deserve to be poo-pooed, even by people who don't construct anything, like the Who's Now contest at ESPN. Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah, Who's Now never should have seen the light of day, and it should have been destroyed by everybody before it even got the chance. But for stuff like this, when there's people trying to go forward, trying to make a living, trying to take steps to having society be safely functioning again, I think that that's what we all have to do. You know, if our kids are in school and somebody gets a positive test, do you shut down the school? Or do you try to remove that person or the bubble that person is in? I mean, that's what people are going to have to do going forward if we want to do anything at all. And I was a little frustrated seeing that yesterday, and I hope that we have a smoother week ahead with sports and the NBA getting started.
Yeah, and the NHL coming back as well. And I asked the question, which is up as a poll question right now, based on their Twitter feeds, do you believe many members of the sports media are rooting against sports coming back, just based on their Twitter feeds? And nearly 22,000 of you have voted so far in the first hour. 78% of you are saying yes.
It's confirmation bias, right, Clay?
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what it is. I mean, if you're somebody who thought that we would be okay by this time of the summer when we were talking about this back in April and May, then you're somebody who's very frustrated and you feel like you've been stifled and what you thought was going to happen didn't happen. If you're somebody who stood here and said sports aren't coming back until 2022, then all of this news is somehow confirming you being an expert, and you can take a victory lap on Twitter with every little negative morsel that flies out of the media, which, as you have documented pretty well, gets a lot more attention than positive news. It's called, I believe you call it, fear porn.
Yes.
And I think there's something to that. So it's interesting. And really when it comes down to it, nobody really knows what's going to happen next. And that's life anyway. No one really knows what's going to happen to anybody unless you're lucky enough to have the forlorn rags of growing old. But I don't understand the absolute and total. It's not just, hey, I was right, we're in a bad situation, we shouldn't do this. And I understand that. There's a lot of people that have that opinion, and I don't want to disparage that. But the relishing in any perceived failure here, just the rolling up in a ball and hiding your face in your crotch and saying, you know, how could any of you have ever dared to try anything during this time? That is a little bit disconcerting. And it makes me feel a little bit differently about a lot of people that I've come up with in the media and really respected.
We're talking to Petros Papadakis. What are you hearing about college football and or noticing as it pertains to the Pac-12? It seems like at least there are reports that they may make a decision by Friday on what their season may look like. Are you optimistic about the idea of college football at least starting?
Yeah, I mean, Pac-12 is going to come out with a schedule, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what this is going to do, Clay, is wring the truth out of the neck of college football and probably men's basketball, too, as we go forward into the season. This is just going to choke out the truth. I mean, for years, we have had these giant institutions of higher education covering our billion-dollar football brands. And they go hand in hand because of our history and our tradition, but they really don't belong together. But none of us have the public will to kind of separate them. And this will just wring the truth out of the neck of these guys. If they're student athletes and they're a great part of the campus, great. If they're not, it doesn't matter because they're not there for that reason. The football team is there to make a bunch of money, hand over fist, and fund the rest of the athletic department and the rest of the school and contribute to the brand of the university itself and its identity. And no one really just wants to admit that. But that's all it is. Football is a giant business inside colleges, and the ones that have it in the Power Five are making a lot of money and building a lot of buildings over the years. And they need to get it going, just like all these other sports, because there's too much money to be made. And even the Pac-12 and its backward ideology over the years is coming to terms with that. So if you come out with a schedule, just like baseball and basketball, then you end up having to go and try to play the schedule. So if the Pac-12 comes out with a schedule on Friday, more power to them. That means Fox and ESPN will start distributing the games, and we'll start figuring out who's going to call what and where and how we're going to go about doing it.
Amen. I'm glad that you survived the phone mishap. We'll have to get into the discussion. Still, we didn't have time today about you and your mortal foe.
Who? The phone?
No, not the phone. Could be your mortal foe, but no, I'm talking about the man who stole your girlfriend, Jeff Goldblum.
You know what? First of all, it wasn't my girlfriend. Second of all, somebody texted me when I was on my way back from Catalina. I looked at my phone. Somebody told me that Goldblum stole 3 chicks from him in the Los Feliz area.
We need to do a whole Goldblum dive in here. It's Petros Papadakis at the Old P on Twitter. This is OutKick on Fox Sports Radio.